We interviewed two candidates for part-time police officers, one candidate for the ZBA, and a candidate for parking lot attendant, and no action was taken. So, I guess it's publicly heard.
Randy Steele, 2 minutes, because we have Ankior here to give their presentation.
I'll try, but this is pretty...
It's going to be 2 minutes, Randy.
All right, start it now. Last town board meeting, I sat here effectively muzzled while Mr. Wink impugned my character by calling my entrance to the Woodstock Community Center, which was guaranteed by Mr. McKenna that he would in fact accompany me personally doing exactly what I did, if necessary. Well, of course, that promise went the way of the promise to give the producers 2 keys before I came here, and had to yell at the town board before that situation changed. I've been effectively shut out of the community center. The first time I ever tried to go in to the town board was when I was injured and barely able to walk, and Edie Lefevre personally guided me in, and then proceeded to tell Mr. Wink apparently that I had committed an obscene behavior. I'm a licensed federal broadcaster, and those words, obscene behavior, are not only impugning my reputation, but jeopardize license agreements that I've signed with the federal government not to be obscene. Mr. Wink, no matter what the resolution is with the ramp and my denial of access to the community center, I am requesting, strongly urging you to do the right thing and write a letter to the Woodstock Times apologizing me for using the word obscene behavior and saying that nothing about my entrance there was obscene. You don't even have to discuss the merits of my entrance or exit, which were the only way that I had to a prior call producers meeting. But please clear my reputation of the charge of obscenity, because there was nothing obscene about it. It's 2 minutes.
Felicia Cage.
Hi, I also was unjustly accused, and I would ask if Mr. J. Wenk would issue a public apology to the Woodstock Times and here on camera, and also that it be noted in the minutes, since in the draft of last business meeting's minutes it's been noted, although without our names, but he mentioned us by name in the past thing. There was no malice intended in our entering there. That was the only way we could enter. We were told by the town board that's the way that a disabled person is supposed to enter. And Randy felt very uncomfortable with the situation, and so she had it videotaped by Paula Gloria, who also entered and was also accused of engaging in the obscene behavior of, in Jay Wank's opinion, of disrupting intentionally, which it wasn't, the play that was going on at the time by Performing Arts of Woodstock. And there was no malice on our part. We could not enter at another time because the Woodstock television producers formative meeting for a producers group was happening then. It was the only time that was available from 8 to 9 p.m. that night at the TV studio when something else wasn't going on, and hopefully when a whole bunch of other producers would be able to attend. All producers were invited and strongly urged to attend that formative meeting. And also, we were guided in, we were met right at the dark curtain that was to protect the outside light from the front entry doors from getting inside by Edie Lefevre herself. And she said, "Follow me," and we followed her where she told us to go. And there was no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paula Gloria Barnes.
I'm also demanding a public apology in the Woodstock Times. Without consulting for our side of the story, the Woodstock Times produced its story. And these charges and allegations of obscenity are extremely handicapping for those of us who are productive people. I have a 5 million hit YouTube account. I've been a public access producer for many years. I know very well about the theft of intellectual property. We've come before this board on many occasions in a slim 2 minutes to alert you to essentially to crimes. And I want to move forward now that the October 16th meeting did produce a bona fide board of public access producers, Woodstock TV producers. There were 9 of them in attendance. 8 of them formed a board, and all but one elected Joe Barton to be the president. Despite him passing kidney stones, I simply read a letter from him, and he made an appeal to all of those of goodwill. And I, in that spirit of goodwill, would like to move forward with animosity, nothing hostile to the PAW. I want to work together. It's not required that our traffic be stolen. We can play this game correctly and above board. We're all about sharing. We want to bring young people on board. We want to start teaching editing. There's many ideas that we have, but when we're so paralyzed because of slanderous allegations against us, it's very hard for us to do our work. So I'm appealing to this board, I'm appealing to you, Jay, to write an apology, and let's move forward and create something really great in this community. I know we can, and we can give back to the legacy of people who have been here for generations and generations, so that it will be win-win for everyone.
Thank you. Joe Barton?
I'm personally offended by you, Jay, that you did such a thing on the producers here, including my wife. And I demand that you put a public apology in the Woodstock Times about this, since it was printed in the Woodstock Times. And I think this board, now that we have a board of directors for the producers, this board should start working with that board of producers. And we could work together to make that TV studio something that Woodstock should be proud of. And I think that's about time. Most of the time, this board, whenever we've come with any problems about the studio, we've been ignored. So we formed a board, and now we want that board to be recognized by this board. And that's what I've got to say.
Thank you.
Steve Romine?
Hi, everybody. Just want to say regarding the ramp that was promised, I believe Kathy mentioned it originally to me, and also Laura Rickey mentioned it to me. We discussed it, building the ramp, and I offered to build it for free. Not the materials, but I offered to do the labor for free. I have built handicap ramps in Long Island before, and there was no response. I emailed and called and visited Jeremy's office. I got no replies to my answers, to my questions. I got no answers. I called and I emailed Jay about the situation that developed on that eve at the PAW event. I got no reply, no response, 3 times. No replies, no response. You. And 3 times. And so, anyway, I want to say that I was present at the radio station on April 11th when Randy and Roger was with me. Randy showed us the wound that she had on the side of her hip. It was about this big, that big, black and blue on the side of her hip. That was the 11th when we first saw that. Then on the 14th, I had an event at Town Hall, which Jay attended. I don't know if you noticed, Randy was walking with a walker there, then. So Randy has been using that walker before the PAW event. That wasn't staged, that was for real. And so I'm a little bit upset about this, that the term obscenity was used toward these people that were simply entering the radio station, the only access that a handicapped person can go through. That was the designated area. And yet, for some reason, according to the PAW, I know you didn't invent it, you were told that, Jay Link was told that there was obscenities that happened, but there wasn't any, because Laura Recchi was there, and she overheard the situation, and she saw that they were, and I'm going to quote her, that they were as courteous as they could possibly be. And so, the time's up?
Yes.
So I just want to say that there was no obscenities, they went the only way they could, and this whole thing about wanting to throw them out of the TV studio is unjust.
Thank you.
Roger Nevin?
I just wanted to say that I also am witness to seeing Randy prior to the incident at the community center. I saw her on 2 different occasions at 2 separate events, and she did have the walker at both events, so that wasn't something she just made up because she thought it would be fun. She showed me what happened to her side. The first time I saw her, she lifted her shirt. It was this huge, one of the worst bruises I've ever seen on her side. Randy has other disabilities too, so for her to use a walker shouldn't be immediately assumed that she's trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes. I mean, where did that come from? That's just horrendous for anybody to assume that without having any conversation with her. I mean, this is just craziness. All she did was go to the community center, walk through the designated area. They were quiet and courteous. It was filmed, if you need further proof. I mean, apparently there's some people that don't believe what happened. It was filmed, so you can watch the film and find out the truth and just stop this. This is ridiculous. That's it.
That's it. So, I'd like to offer an announcement from our highway superintendent.
And no comment on any of that?
No, thank you. There's a notice to the public concerning road construction in this year. And so the highway department will be performing different service treatment on the following roads: Simmons Drive North, White House Lane, Pond Road, Sitwa Road in the area of number 195 to the Willow End, Cedar Way, 2,250 feet of Cooper Lake Road on the Lake Hill end, Urizzi Lane, Van Wagner Road, West Ohio Mountain Road, and they're going to be milling and filling with blacktop on Reynolds Lane if the Gosser project, the box culvert at the intersection, is completed this year. So those are the roads that we anticipate working on this year. Next week, we're going to have representatives from the New York State Department of Transportation here to talk about the bridge that they're going to be replacing in Mount Tremper on Route 212, almost to the border of Candaton, and which is going to have a big impact on anybody traveling west on Route 212 toward Phoenicia and Boyceville. So if that's a roadway that you use a lot, you might want to be here for that meeting. And now we have with us this evening.
Can I just make one quick
Yes.
announcement? I just wanted to announce one of our former full-time officers, Joseph Stock, received Deputy of the Year this year at the Ulster County Sheriff's Department. I want to congratulate Joe and also acknowledge the great work that Chief Clayton Keefe and his senior officers put into training these new young officers. It's a good job.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, he does a good job. And as long as we're giving a tip of the hat, a big tip of the hat to the volunteers and the volunteers of the fire district for conducting yet another fantastic women's bike race over the weekend. Very well attended event and something that brings our town more and more prestige every year. So to everybody who will help with that, thank you very much. So we do have with us Mr. Rob Kernick, Ms. Lori Osmond, Mr. Kevin Sala, and Ms. Victoria McLaren, who will present the year 2016-17 Ontario School District budget. Proposed, I guess.
Proposed.
So you wanted to cap?
Yes.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you. Hey, Steve.
Gets easier and easier, doesn't it?
We'll see how that goes next year. More to follow.
Tom wants me to check with you. The audio is very, very quiet. every time it's been gone out live, it's like you have to turn up to
We'll
90.
speak up. Thank you.
Turn up to 90, and you still don't get anything. When it's replayed, it's
So you'll
decent.
speak up, please. Yes.
When you replay, it's decent, but live, it's like I had it at 100.
Okay, you're up.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you again for having us. If you want to turn to slide 2. This would be the slide where we're going to talk about the budget highlights. So the first bullet is speaking about a school resource officer. As you may recall, a number of years ago, our district had a school resource officer back when the New York State Troopers provided that to us. When the state cut back and they pulled that out of our district, we have been without one since then. And in this school year, the Board of Education agreed to incorporate the funding into the budget for that position, and we are moving forward with contracting with the Sheriff's Office.
Was that a response to a particular call for it?
I don't think it was a specific response. I mean, I'm sure the board could step in, but I think it's just in general concerns for safety, relationship building, having that tone in the district and working with law enforcement.
And I would also add that the board did receive a letter from the majority of the PTAs urging us to please consider adding the SRO to the budget. PTAs felt that it would be a positive thing to happen in the next school year.
Okay, so your plan is, you're saying you go to the Ulster County Sheriff's Department, so the idea is you get somebody who's trained in the Sheriff's Department, but you'll be paying their salary. So somebody who'll be a Sheriff's Department employee, but you'll be paying their salary, they'll be located at the school?
We actually will pay the Sheriff's Department. We're not paying them directly, they're not our employee, they're.
The sheriff, so you pay the Sheriff's Department a certain amount, so you might have a rotating person, it might not be the same person.
No, we will have one person.
Okay.
And that person will be chosen as a joint effort
Okay.
to identify the right person. Because, you know, in a school, it's really important to have the right,
Absolutely.
the right person, the right personality, the right relationship building.
Okay.
And individuals beyond their typical training as police persons, they are also trained in how to be an SRO, because it's a specific skill set.
Are they armed?
Yes.
They are.
With a gun or a ruler?
One of each. You actually had,
Bishop Ruler, but a gun is considered part of their uniform.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
what the Sheriff's
understand.
Department has told us. And in the past, the board has looked at other options, but the highway department has state police who used to provide such a service, don't have that available anymore, nor do the individual town police departments, so the sheriff's department is our only recourse. And to echo what Victoria and Rob said, it's extremely important to be the right person, and there's going to be language in the contract that if we feel it is not the right person, that contract can be terminated, the person can be changed out, because it's all about the relationships that are built and the personality of the individual. They have to be right for the schools.
I won't mention names, but you did have a sheriff's officer up at the prom the other night who does this, I think, down in New Bronx or Rongat School District, and you might be well served to look up that gentleman's name. He's a former Woodstock police officer as well, and he's
Oh, okay. So the next bullet is referencing a director of technology position that's been created. And the vision for this position is to, we've had a lot of technology coming into the district over the past number of years. There's a lot in terms of what the support that our teachers need in order to support the learning of the students. So this position is actually intended to be a certified school district administrator, and to be really there to integrate instructional technology into the classrooms and work with the teachers and work with the staff, not so much just a tech person, but really an instructional leader as well. We also have the position of the network support specialist, and this is not necessarily an addition to the budget, it's just a different way of structuring. We've had this position, we actually have a little more than 1.5 people in this position through BOCES. We've had this for a number of years, supporting our infrastructure. But now that we are moving towards having a director of technology in the district, we have people in the data department already. So we want to bring the full-time position for this network support specialist into the district and have them really be part of the district team and not so much a contract type of situation.
sorry, what networks are referred to here?
What this person deals with is the technology infrastructure and all the hardware.
It's a network throughout the school probably, right? 'Cause you have
Yes,
different-
The
yes,
servers
the
and-
local networks within each building and the wider network throughout the entire district. The next item is our JV football program. As you may recall, we have had modified football for a number of years, but we didn't have the numbers to support a JV or varsity program. 2 years. The modified program has been growing, and our current interim athletic director feels strongly after discussing it with the students that we will have enough kids to field a JV team as well as a modified team for next year. And so the funding for that has been brought back into the budget. For
Who's the
now,
athletic director? Okay.
right now we have Lou Chaffee. So right now, for next year, the varsity students would still go down and play with Kingston. But as we see this program go and grow, we'll see where we end up in a couple more years.
In today's climate, with all the talk about head injuries in football, is there conversation going on among you about that issue?
Concussions are a very large part of conversations that we have. Our nurses are trained, our coaches all have to be educated on concussions, and our athletic director certainly is well aware of it.
There's a whole policy on
Yeah.
it, school board policy, concussion.
Yeah.
And as an aside, soccer, it's gotten very, very popular, and they don't have padding and protection, and they have a very high level of concussions. So sports, I was an avid basketball player. I had a couple of those, had a broken nose. It's the nature of many sports.
Okay.
And the next bullet refers to our kindergarten through 8th grade summer program, which we've been operating for a few years as well. It has, for the past couple of years, been a 15-day program, so essentially 3 weeks. We wanted to expand it this year. We actually ended up kind of limited to 18 days because of the way the calendar fell. Otherwise, to make it 20 days would have ended up with 2 days at the beginning of a week, which would have led to kids not being able to come, because during the summer, families plan vacations. They're not gonna stop going on vacation just because they're Monday, Tuesday, the last 2 days. So as we move forward, we might end up expanding that again, but for now, we've expanded it to 18 days.
And this program is targeted for kids.
It's targeted for kids who need the extra support, academic intervention, and they're identified through their instructors, through their teachers.
Is that something offered or mandatory?
Pardon?
Is that offered or mandatory?
It's offered.
Offered.
It's offered. And then the last budget is the transfer to capital line, which in this current budget, we have $100,000 in that budget line because that's the limit that you can do if you have kind of an emergency project. The state will say, yeah, you can go ahead and spend that on a project and get aid immediately. And in the past, we've used that line for other smaller projects that were not part of a large referendum. So as you may recall, last year we did the Woodstock playground and the Phoenicia playground, and those communities, I believe, are very happy. The kids in the schools are incredibly happy and really enjoying that. So now we wanted to turn our attention to the Bennett playground. That playground that exists there was originally envisioned for a K-6 building, and now we have 4th through 6th graders. And, you know, the older kids really do play differently and have different desires and different needs.
They actually did a survey with all the kids there too. Came up with some very interesting information in terms of, and we have a committee that's been working with them.
So we're looking to do something to help that playground now, but we've also uncovered or become aware, partly through our building condition survey, there are drainage pipes that run under that playground that are old and failing. So the money that we have in this budget line for next year is to do both remediate the drainage issues as well as renovate the playground.
So I guess I have a question before we move on. So you've added some things, although you haven't really reduced anything. So I see that by going ahead to the next page, I see the budget is going up. I don't know if there's anything that could have been reduced to balance out the things that got added.
I think, we're not really adding a lot of things. I think we've been talking about, the board has been considering the school resource officer and kind of weighing it back and forth for a few years, and certainly the director of technology is just an incredibly needed position to bring us forward. And the network support specialist is not really an addition, it's just a change in how we're looking at things. And the JV football we had before, and that's really student participation driven. So we're actually not adding very much this year.
Yeah, okay. But it translates to like $1 million not counting capital.
Well, the budget is going up a little over $1.5 million, and that's more driven by
Retirement, medical.
normal increases.
Yeah. Tell me.
But, so if you look at the budget increase, it's about 3%, but I do always want to call attention to the fact that the Bennett Playground and the drainage remediation is a one-time cost, so that budget line is going to come back down next year. So if we pulled that out and looked at that, it would mean the budget would be increasing really about 2%.
Okay. And the other question I have about the playground, I know you're saying that Bennett now is 4 through 6, but 20 years from now, what might it be? I just didn't know as you set the playground to meet the students that are there today, if you change what grades are in there, do you have to change it again later? You're going to kind of keep it open so that you can address other grades in the way.
But also keep in mind that 20 years from now, this playground will be obsolete. So, it's kind of a balancing act. As far as I can tell, for the foreseeable future, we are in this configuration.
Yeah, and also just to, one of the main student feedback things we got was there was not enough shade and there was no place for them to just congregate. So in the plan, there is a sort of a seated area where shade will be provided, not exactly a gazebo, but that kind of a structure. So that'll be applicable to any age range.
Okay.
So it's not as if we're only putting in equipment that's suitable for older
It's
kids.
also a new large-scale climbing structure. There's a new large-scale climbing structure. As the design sits right now, it's not finalized. The old structure is really designed more for, when you get into playground design, you have K6 and then you have 6-12. This one really is more the K3, but the kids don't really use it, is what it comes down to. They use it to run on, but they don't really, the apparatus is on scale problem.
And the other thing that they really want is a place to run and play.
Yeah.
So we're trying to give them a big field.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm very confused. On the first page, at the very bottom, the last line says, this additional cost of $550,000 is being offset by appropriated fund balance and is not increasing the tax levy.
Correct.
Now, on the next page,
This is just
it
the budget,
says
not the tax
this
levy.
increase is partially driven by the $550,000.
Right, but it's not the levy that,
Pardon?
this is not the levy number.
This is just the budget.
Budget number.
There's two different things, the levy and the budget.
So you're saying there's a fund, you're drawing it from a fund. So you don't have to increase taxes for that money because you're drawing it from a fund you have.
Right,
Exactly.
and it's a
I'm
one-time.
glad I asked that question.
Okay.
I mean, the playgrounds last year, if I'm not mistaken, they were a one-time, aren't they?
Yep, and we use the fund balance as well.
Same method.
Same method.
What is your fund balance these days?
2%.
2%. 2% of 40 million or 52 million?
2% of the unappropriated, 2% of our next year's budget, so the 50. We're allowed to have 2%. Now, see, yeah, you're.
Okay.
Tax levy.
So 4%.
Yeah, so I'm stuck in the tax levy 2%. It's
So you've got
4%.
about $2 million
It's
fund balance?
4%,
Is that
yes.
what it is?
2 million unappropriated, sorry. If we
Can I
move
have
on-
that? I ask that every year.
Only if you go back to school and then you want to.
Yeah.
Well, that depends,
That's a
what
good answer.
interest rate are you willing to pay? So if we,
Please speak up, the jokes are the hardest to get.
I'm sorry. If we move on to slide 4, you can see, this is just, the next two slides are two different ways of looking at the budget and the components of the budget. In this one, you can see that instruction is about 52% of the budget. The largest components are instruction and employee benefits, which is kind of the same thing we review every year. Debt service and interfund transfers is less than 3%, and that is our, the very small amount of debt service that we have, and we do an interfund transfer to support our school lunch program. Transportation is less than 7.5%, operations and maintenance is about 6%, and general support is about 3.5%.
And I'm sorry, what is that? Is that the paper clips and the paper?
General support is kind of, that's the way to look at it. The non-instructional support, so kind of the back office central administration.
Was your network services guy gonna probably be general support or girl?
Actually, he will probably be in program because he's supporting the instruction,
Go to the next slide.
which is kind of my intro to the next slide, which is looking at things by component. And this is how the state requires us to split out the budget. And just for your reference, every school district has the same chart of accounts. And some may use codes and some may not use, we may not all use the same codes, but there's a prescribed system of accounts that we have to adhere to. And the state assigns each one of those accounts to either the program, administrative, or capital. And so then when people present in this way, you know that you're looking at similar types of information. And so when you look at this, it makes sense. The program is about 85% of our budget.
Because transportation is included in that, because it's involved in getting the kids to the school.
Right. So this is an interesting way to look at it, and I believe that we are, as we always are, having the right proportions. And so now to talk about the tax levy. As you can see, our tax levy is increasing just under $500,000, which is a 1.16% increase. And as you noted, that is different from the budget increase. Part of that is that we are using additional fund balance to offset the levy to accommodate the playground.
And you get some state support, right?
Well, that's one of the other issues that I wanted to bring up in terms of long-term planning. This year, we did get our gap elimination adjustment money back. You know, the state had called that gap elimination adjustment, it wasn't our gap, it was their gap, and they took the money from us.
From all the schools in the state.
Right.
So this year, you know, the governor had proposed to give that money back to districts over 2 years, but thankfully, when the final state budget got passed, that money is coming back in 1 year. So we had, you know, a significant amount of money coming back, so that helped offset the budget increase. That's not going to happen again, because now we're even. They don't owe us anymore. And in addition to your reference for retirement systems, although our contribution on behalf of our employees is still a very large number, it actually was reduced this year because the retirement system rates went down.
Right. We have the same.
So I don't know that that's going to hold long term. I don't know that we're going to see multiple years of reductions there. So to that point, when we do the calculation for the tax levy limit, which the governor very kindly coined the 2% tax cap, which never is and never was.
2% of the rate of inflation, whichever is less.
Plus or minus a few little details.
Do they give you a growth factor?
They do give us a growth
What was
factor. I believe it was 0.00016.
Yeah, I think that was similar.
Yeah.
Made a big
So-
difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we do the calculation, I kind of think it's unfortunate, but our levy increase would be allowable at 1.61, which kind of makes it seem like I'm just transposing things, but I'm not. We are only going to the taxpayers and asking to raise 1.16%. And so if you're familiar with the calculation, there's a function called carryover, where if we don't actually take all of the money that we could in the current year, that can be added to the calculation for the following year. As you can see, between $469,000 and $652,000, it's not going to be a windfall for us, but I think it's important that we not use that money this year. We don't need it, and possibly next year we will be able to use
I'm
it.
with you 100%. No, I understand that.
Yeah.
just ask you one question? I know with the state and town and government employees, the state has decided to change tiers
Yes.
so that people have to work longer, put more money into their own retirement. Is that the same with education? Do they change
Their
your,
tier system?
are they changing your tier system?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
Yep.
you guys are going along with everybody else, right? So that
Absolutely.
people have to work longer?
Yes, and people will have to
And pay more.
contribute on
And
their
pay more.
own
Okay.
for much longer, for, I believe, their entire
We're
career.
constantly
Career now,
negotiating to raise the percentage that the educators pay for their own insurance.
Yes.
Things of that nature.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just
I believe we're on
curious.
tier 6 now.
Tier
with
six.
teachers'
Yeah, right,
retirements.
okay, so we are too, right? We're in tier
Yeah.
6 then?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
and I know, as of 12 years ago, I was put into tier 4, so we're moving right along.
They are gonna keep changing it pretty rapidly right
They
now.
are,
And when I signed that check for the retirement system, I'm in tears.
yes. Well, I understand, well, you know what, for schools, we don't sign the check, they actually deduct it from our state aid. They say, here's the
Ah.
money we're gonna give you, but you owe us
That's a
this,
sure
so
way
we're
of
just
getting
gonna, yes, we're just gonna keep it.
Mhm.
We don't get to write the check.
So are any of us tier 1 people left? I mean, I retired 10 years
I
ago.
don't think so.
No.
I really don't think
No, I
there's
don't
any
think so.
tier 1.
Probably not in education.
Although I have one friend who's still a teacher.
Well, that could be the anomaly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really the exception at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it was a nice perk at the time where the state actually paid for, or the towns of government paid for retirement systems, but I'm a firm believer in paying for your own. I kind of like the idea that it's going back that way. Jeremy and I have had that conversation many times, and, yeah.
Well, I think what
I mean, it's,
happened-
huh?
What happened years ago is when I started teaching, I think I was making $6,000.
Right, nobody was
So
making much money.
So everybody, so they were like, oh, we can give you this percentage and this benefit because you don't make any money anyway. But then things obviously changed over the last 47 years.
Well, and depending on how the markets are doing, the district's contribution fluctuates wildly. You know, it was in single digits when I started, now we're over, we were over 20% at one point.
Wow,
So
huge,
it's come down a little bit, but we're still very firmly in double digits.
yeah.
Break up the banks.
Well, that's another discussion, so I'm gonna move on. Slide 7, we're talking about a capital reserve proposition that's being brought to the voters.
A separate item on the.
Separate item on the ballot. And so this slide is kind of a little history. I won't read every budget, or every bullet, I'm sorry. You may recall back in 2011, we did this. We asked the voters to create a capital reserve. We asked that we be allowed to fund it up to $5 million. We did. We saved that money. And as part of our, every 5 years, we have to do our building condition survey. So then we put together a project that we felt was really important and full of priority items for the district to maintain the facilities. Then we asked the voters if we could spend not only that $5 million, but an additional $2 million to fund this project that we had spec'd out, that was supposed to be about $7 million worth of work. The voters said yes. Then it took us a while to get everything drawn up and created by the architects, and we went out to bid. And unfortunately, the bids came back well over our budget, so we had to reduce the scope, bid it again, was above the budget again, we had to reduce the scope again. And so while we are still doing some of the work that I think is absolutely imperative, we are changing the heating system in the middle high school. We have steam heat there.
Which is ancient and literally falling apart.
Yeah, original pipes leaking all the time. Boilers, we're changing over to hot water. We're also changing the boiler in Phoenicia. And we're going to have a traditional boiler as well as the wood pellet boiler. But unfortunately, some of the other things that we wanted to get done, we're not able to. If you've used the restrooms in the high school, you know that they desperately need updating. And then there was ceilings and doors and paving, a number of other things that unfortunately we were not able to accomplish. So we're going through the process of the building condition survey again. New items are coming up. We're trying to look at what we can address with our facilities department And so we're asking that we be allowed to create another capital reserve and fund it up to $8 million, aiming a little higher this time. And then, of course, before we take the money out and actually do any kind of project, we need to bring it back to the voters and ask for permission.
So this is very interesting, because in municipal budgeting, we have two types of capital reserve. You have so-called type and so-called specific. So type would be, oh, let's put money aside because someday you might need a vehicle. But it's not, it could be any vehicle.
Not specific.
And specific is a very specific purpose. Now, in a type reserve, it's established by a resolution, just a resolution of the town board. But before we spend, it's subject to a permissive referendum. But a specific reserve, the resolution itself is subject to a permissive referendum. And assuming that it passes, then the expenditure can be made at any time. This sounds like a specific reserve. This is a reserve for a specific purpose, and you need two approvals.
We need the approval to save the money, and then we need the approval to spend the money. And so, actually, you're helping me. On page 8.
You cheated, Jerry.
I have a question on page 7 before we go there.
Okay.
So my question is, when you have the slight increase in taxes, the 1.16%, or 11 rather, the increase, but if you do get approval to build this $8 million fund, does that 1.16 increase in levy, is that enough, or is this an additional amount taxpayers will pay?
No, it's not an additional amount. This is when we reach the end of the school year, if we have money left over,
Move it
we
over.
will put it into this capital reserve.
Okay, so the 1.16% increase is taxpayers will not see an increase greater than that to allow this to start building, this will start building.
No, we are not going to tax to build the reserve. That's
It's
a
in the
great
event
point. Thank you.
that there's some money that can be put in there.
Over a period of
There's a
years.
specific amount of time that we've allotted to put it in there. But there's no guarantee that we will come up with the.
That amount of
Right.
money. But you can move it there, if you have money left over, you can move it there.
Exactly.
Perfect.
We have to
Okay.
create this fund, the state demands that you do it this way.
Okay.
And of course, there are the fail-safes at both ends, creating it, and then once again, to be redundant. When you go to create the project, you explain it to the taxpayers, and they have to vote on it, so it would be next week. It would be, if we were 5 years from now, or 8 years from now, when we've got another project, it would be on the ballot.
So you like to predict what you think is going to happen with possibilities of extra funding.
Right, which is why we've actually set it up to be, we're giving ourselves 7 years to save money. And on page 7, you can see that the next thing on our timeline is actually the vote, which is next week on Tuesday in all 4 elementary buildings from 2 to 9. And there are 3 things on the ballot: the budget, the capital reserve proposition, which is right here as it will appear on the, when you go into vote. And as you can see, we are, much kind of to your point, we actually specify in a way what we can spend money on. It has to be something that is appearing on our building condition survey, which kind of ensures that we're going to be looking to do the right thing with these funds and really maintain the district assets. And then,
How much, back to page 7 for a minute, of the projects you're doing, what is the total cost of those projects right now?
we are using our $7 million budget.
Actually, the last one came a little bit after we reviewed it.
So,
But we may end up with change orders, so we don't want
so
to.
you're spending about $7 million?
We are, yes.
Yeah, okay.
There's contingencies.
Right.
What is the maximum contingency?
It's a good question. I want to say
We generally build in 10%.
10%. Yeah.
And so there are the 3 things on the ballot: the budget, the capital reserve, and then the Board of Education trustee election. And this is kind of a different year because we've had some people who have had to resign from the Board of Education, and we have wonderful people filling those seats, but now there are 5 seats up for.
Wow.
Wow.
5 out of 7.
5 out of 7.
Wow.
And
How many
also,
candidates running?
well, all 5 that are currently seated are running, and there are 2 additional candidates.
So the newspaper, I think, got it wrong then, because I think they said there were only 2.
I believe there are 2 2-year
New
terms.
Paltz, they said
and
there was an
3
article
one-year
today about
terms.
New Paltz, which was an article a couple of days ago about Ontiora, and they had it, I think they had it right. They listed 7 people.
It listed 7 people, but it sounds like 7 people running for 2 seats.
That's what I thought too.
5 seats.
Yeah.
Seven for 5.
Okay.
Okay, that makes me.
And all 5 running, all 5 of us running for the election.
Right.
I
As long as it's not 2 people.
Would have understood these.
No.
No, the student member,
We have a
the student rep,
on the board.
So how many students do you, oh, sorry, Jay, go ahead.
This gentleman at the end hasn't said a word.
Oh,
and
I've heard
I'm
it. He's
dying.
I've said a couple.
He said
What do you need to know?
Who
Can I-
are the lucky 2 that aren't running this term?
that's,
Well, no, you mean
Bobby
for
Schnell
Bobby Schnell
and Valerie
Valerie
Storey.
Oh,
They still
okay.
have time on their terms left.
Okay,
It's a 3-year term.
3-year, okay.
yeah.
When somebody resigns, whoever's running,
Right,
it's by vote count.
okay.
You could end up with a 1-year term as compared to a 3-year term.
Oh, okay, so that's gonna determine your
Yeah.
term length,
Yes.
okay, where you land in the race.
So the vote is next Tuesday between the hours of 2 and 9 p.m. And everybody will go to the same polling places that they went to the last election?
Absolutely.
There's no changes, okay?
Last school board,
School
last
board
election,
election.
not
Last school
not the
board.
primary
Yeah.
election,
School
but the
board
school
election.
election, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's not your firehouse, it's your
Right.
town's elementary school.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. So they open the West Valley School just for
For the
that?
vote, yes.
Interesting. Mhm.
How many students do you have this year?
About 1,350.
Is that how?
That's up a little, isn't it?
No.
It's close to what it was there.
Yeah,
Oh.
we seem to be leveling off at this point.
So do you think, looking out over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be pretty level? Is that?
Hopefully, I mean,
It's
a lot
hard
of
to-
it depends on jobs and
Yeah.
local
We
economies.
think we have a dynamic community here, and we think the more that we push that, whether it's the towns or the schools, we still think that people want to live here. Everybody we know,
Mhm.
whether you were born and raised here or you came here 25 years ago,
Mhm.
we still think that we have a lot going for us. So
Mhm.
we're hopeful, depending on many
Yeah,
factors.
well, I mean, Ontiora has a very good reputation. We were recently ranked, what was our ranking in the US
Silver.
News and World Report?
Silver.
Silver among, so
Saw
the
that.
school is well respected. The students do well and go on to other things. I feel like the students of all ranges are well supported. In this area, you know, as we all can see, you know, from the Airbnb demand and all of that, this area has gotten more popular with more people wanting to spend time here. And, you know, I know a number of people who moved here for weekend houses and then had a family and then transitioned to full-time. And, you know, so I do have hope for this area because it's an amazing place to live. And I think the schools do offer a lot to the kids.
The Kingston Freeman had a very full article about that very topic about a week ago.
Well, I think it should also be mentioned that the Ontario School District, as far as taxes are concerned, is probably the cheapest in all of Ulster County.
Absolutely.
In multiple counties.
And, I only know, as far as Ulster County, that you are way below. Now, we can thank the reservoir for that, and the citizens of the city of New York for contributing so much into the district, but that is a fact.
Yes. it's a-
People who
it's a
live in the
major
Ontario
factor.
School District are getting a big bang for the buck.
You go to Saugerties or Kingston. it's-
Saugerties, Kingston, New Paltz,
Yes.
Marlboro. Whoa.
Well, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
But we all know that it's always, depending on when the contracts between the city or the towns comes up, it's always a major struggle as well, in terms of evaluations.
Mhm.
Any major changes to the music program this year? Mr. Thomas is retiring.
Mr. Thomas is retiring.
Now, I noticed an initiative among the students to look for a new mascot.
We have our student rep, Reagan Lohide, who's the president of student government. She is our board rep. And she and student government have been working in concert with Lance Edelman, the high school principal, to canvass the students and create civil conversation about what they feel should be done. And we believe that at some point, the student government will be making a recommendation to the board that they're going through the process with the assistance of the high school principal to have that conversation among themselves.
They also have a human rights club that's part of it.
Well, I think it's wonderful, you know, years ago, when there was quite a bit of stir and bubble and trouble over that issue, to me, what I thought was the biggest weakness of the argument being made at the time is it was coming from the top down. So the fact that it's coming from the bottom up, I think is very encouraging. And,
Yes.
The student involvement is great, it's
Yes,
important.
but from what I've read, the board has the ability to overturn the student's decision.
Yeah, well, the students will make a recommendation to the board, a recommendation only. Yeah, and then the board will have to
Yeah.
vote to accept or reject the recommendation.
Why?
Because that's under the
That's the way
purview
the
of the
board
school
works.
board.
That's not the way democracy works.
They're under 18 here, they don't get a vote.
Back to music for a minute.
Yeah,
Do you know who,
Yes.
do you have any ideas on who, and can you say who might be heading that tomorrow?
I don't know who's gonna be at it. We've got the position posted. So hopefully we'll hire someone
Okay,
wonderful. I'm assuming we will.
I
excellent.
want to nominate a candidate.
Well, they kind of have to
No,
nominate.
for the mascot.
Oh, okay, who?
Because when I went to the school, when you walked in the main entrance, there was a
Oh,
moose
the-
head
oh, the
on the
moose
wall. Now, it's my understanding that over the years, it got kind of drowsy, and you had to take the old moose head down. I say bring back the moose.
Too much confusion over plural and singular.
See, these pieces.
Is that good?
And I have one more plea to make, and I've made it before. The scoreboard is in dire condition. And I'm not even suggesting spending taxpayer money. I mean, I bet if you did some fundraising, you could get that reconditions. But it really would be nice. I mean, that's where the kids come and play, and other communities and teams come.
What is it, Roman numerals? What's the problem?
It's just,
It's a stone tablet.
it's falling apart. I mean, it's, I think a paint job even. And God bless Lou Shortran, he got it running at least the other day for the game, which was really nice.
I would say that, like our music program, our athletic program, not just the scoreboard, but from the coaching to the development of the modified football team and the improvement of our student athletes' opportunities. I think it's something we're looking at the same way we would look at the music program. I mean, I think that our consensus is that education includes those things, and I hope that you will see some positive changes in our athletic programs. As good as they are now, I think we can do better.
Well, now you can't keep them quiet.
You'll be happy to know I just got a text your varsity baseball team on today.
All right.
Fantastic.
And your tennis team isn't too shabby either.
Now, for
Neither is
text,
varsity track, which my daughter runs on.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
And
Good
we
job.
did, what was it, 2 years ago that we did the track?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you very much for this report, and we of course have two other school districts in our town, and you're the only school
that ever
district that
comes
comes and apprises us of what's happening. And
even acknowledges that we're in it. So thank you.
It's been very well presented, very well presented and explained, so thank you very
Thank
much.
you to you trustees, because I
Thank
know
you.
you don't get a lot of praise for a tough job.
Thank you, just encourage your townspeople to come out and vote on May 17th.
Next week, everybody, May 17th, between the hours of 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. at your local school. Go out.
I didn't want us to vote.
Legally not allowed. Take a guess.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Take care.
Who's this?
Okay, I'd like to offer the following resolution. Be resolved to reopen the public hearing on a matter of local law amending Woodstock Code Chapter 233, the vehicle and traffic law of the town of Woodstock, Ulster County, New York, previously amended
well, I'm
to
tired.
create new no parking zones of critical importance, establishing police fines in such zones,
David, Outside, please.
Outside, please, thank you.
Thank you.
And to create the authority for the town or its agents to tow or lay vehicles from such zones. Members of the public may be heard at such time.
Need a second?
Second,
You, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
One at a time, please. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Excuse me, let me offer a resolution. Whereas the town board, in accordance with New York State Town Law Article 9, which grants the town board of the town of Woodstock authority to enact local laws for the purpose of promoting the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the town. Article 2, Section 10 of the Municipal Home Rule Law, which gives the town of Woodstock the power to protect and enhance its physical environment. Section 10 of the New York State Statute of Local Government, Article 9 of the New York State Constitution, and other legislative authority of the state of New York is amended from time to time. Proposes to amend the Woodstock Code, Chapter 233, the Vehicle and Traffic Law of the town of Woodstock, Ocean County, New York, as previously amended, to create new parking zones of critical importance, to establish increased fines in such zones, and to create the authority for the town and its agents to tow away vehicles from such zones. And whereas a properly noticed public hearing on such proposal was held on April 19, 2016, reopened April 25, and the proposed amendment was modified to include an additional critical parking area, and the public hearing recessed to give time for comment. And whereas on May 10, the public was again invited to comment on the proposed amendment and its modifications. And whereas the town board received comment from all who wish to be heard, therefore be it resolved. The Woodstock Town Board, pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.21 and Chapter 65 of the Woodstock Town Code, tweaker. 1. Declares itself lead agency for the proposed action. 2. Finds the proposed action to be a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review. 3. Closes the public hearing. 4. Adopts local law number 1 of the year 2016. And 5. Directs the town clerk to file local law number 1 with the New York Secretary of State.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to appoint David Biedler to the Woodstock Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire 12/31/12/21.
Second.
All in favor?
Can I get that last name again?
Biedler is a B-E-I-D-L-E-R.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to send him down here probably Thursday, I think he said, to get sworn in.
Okay, before the
And if
meeting.
you would give him a copy of the ethics law and also the disclosure, that would be tippy-top. Be resolved to waive rental fees for use of the community center on February 6, May 7, August 6, and November 5, 2016, between the hours of 4 to 7 p.m. by Family of Woodstock sponsored health care as a human right for the purpose of instructing all who come on ways of maintaining health, provided that a deposit is made. The instructors sign a waiver holding the town harmless should they injure themselves, and Jack will give you a copy of such waiver
Okay.
that I worked out with David Bloodgood. The event is free and open to the public. All rules governing the use of the community center are obeyed. The premises are left in the condition they are found.
You'll send me that resolution, because it's
Yeah.
different. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to appoint Christopher Tompkins, seasonal parking lot attendant at $15.34 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
And the last name on that?
Tompkins,
Oh, Tompkins.
T-O-M-P-K-I-N-S.
Okay.
Whereas Woodstock Pizza Theater LLC DBA, Rick's Wood Fired Restaurant, 138 Tinker Street, Woodstock, New York, 12498, is in compliance with the Alcoholic Beverage Control Law, Section 64, Subdivision 2A, has notified this municipality of their intent to file an application for a liquor license with the New York State Liquor Authority. And whereas this property is currently in compliance with all local laws and does not have any violations at this time, therefore be it resolved to waive, in this instance, the 30-day period to review said application, consent to the issuing of a liquor license to the above-named applicant. Okay.
Aye.
Be it resolved to authorize Highway Superintendent Michael Reynolds to attend the 2016 Highway School in Ithaca, June 5 to June 8, 2016, and to use highway card number 1 for transport to and from the school.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Whereas plans and specifications have been completed for contract TW-161 replacement of the McDanielville Bridge, and whereas a stream disturbance permit was issued by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation on April 2, 2016, and whereas all stream disturbance work must be completed by October 1, 2016, and whereas a bidding package will be available on May 16th at the Town Clerk's Office, 45 Como Drive, Woodstock, New York, 12498, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Therefore be it resolved that contract TW-161 be advertised for public bidding in accordance with the general municipal law, and that sealed bids will be received by the town clerk's office, no fax or email bids will be accepted, up to 4 p.m. on June 10, 2016, after which time bids will no longer be accepted, and be it further resolved, the Woodstock Town Board reserves the right to reject all bids.
Second.
In favor?
Can I ask you something, Jeremy? Are you going to give me the language, or Michael, for this?
Yes.
And,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so I'll get it on Friday?
Dennis Larios will give it to you.
Dennis, okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a heads up. It won't go into this week, it will go into the following week's
Following week,
edition.
okay.
We resolved to schedule a special meeting of the Woodstock Town Board for Friday, June 10, 2016, at 4 p.m. for the purpose of opening bids for contract TW-161 replacement for the McDaniel Road Bridge.
Second.
All in favor? Be it resolved to waive rental fees and insurance requirements for use of the community center on June 16 between the hours of 7 to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a benefit concert to finance projects to assist wounded veterans, provided that a deposit is made. The performers and organizers sign a waiver holding the town harmless should they injure themselves. The event is free and open to the public. All rules governing use of the community center are obeyed. The premises are left in the condition they were found.
I want to speak
Yes,
to this.
speak to that.
I'm going to vote no on this. And the reasons are that the purpose, well, let me back up a moment. First, let me say that handicapped, disabled people all over this country, all over the world, should be assisted without limit, to being able to work and live in humanistic, sanitary, and healthful conditions. No matter who they are, no matter where they're from, no matter what they've done, whether they've served in the military or not. I am going to vote against this resolution because the attempt here is to be able to get disabled veterans to serve again in the military. One of the reasons that's stated by the producer is that he hopes to diminish the number of veteran suicides in our country, which, as we all know or should know, reached 22 veteran suicides a day. However, every study that I have come across and read indicates that except for a very small number of those people who have committed suicide, veteran members, a very small number of them have had serious emotional problems prior to going into the service, and so it's not possible to understand whether their service in the military or not contributed to their death. On the other hand, the vast majority of veteran suicides are caused as a result of what these veterans have had to do during their service. And there have even lately been several drone operators who have committed suicide as a result of what they're directing these drones to do from thousands of miles away. They're nowhere near the scene. Nowhere. But the horror and the insult to humanity that they have had to experience, even from thousands of miles away, has caused lately several new drone operator suicides. Our military is, to say that it's bloated with members of the military, with the military budget, with military equipment, with the close to 1,000 bases that this country operates all over the world and is building more. To say that, for me to say that disabled veterans should be allowed to serve again within that bloated system is just gaga. It's insane. Those people, those disabled veterans deserve to be treated with the greatest respect and care, but not in the military, which causes 22 suicides a day. And so therefore, without going on and on and on, I vote no, and I urge this board to consider rejecting this request. Thank you.
Well, I respectfully disagree with some of your premises. I can't
I
argue
didn't make any
with
premises, I
the,
made statements.
statements. The role of the military in the modern world and for the United States, I can't even get into a discussion about it. I don't pretend to know all enough to get into a discussion about it. However, it is my understanding that there are some people who just simply like the Army life. They just simply like life in the military. And because they were disabled, they are deprived of the opportunity to continue serving in the military in a non-combat role, be it clerical or whatever. And for those people who want to stay in the military and who under present policy can't, because the military will not accept, in my opinion, its obligation to those who have been disabled, I think is very unfair, and I would support a change in that policy.
Well, you know that I respect you, and I'll say it publicly, I respect you and the other members of this board up and down the line. However, I have to respectfully disagree.
Okay, I'd like to speak to it. I sent an email people may not have seen because it was not too much before this meeting. I sent the email. But, and I respect Jay, although I respectfully disagree as well with Jay, for the reason being, my thoughts were along the same lines as Jeremy's thoughts, that I felt that the person, I read the string of emails that went along with this resolution, and the background, the person who wants this concert, the benefit concert, sounded to me like he was being proactive and positive in trying to find some solutions. And as Jeremy says, some people aren't career military people. We can, there are a lot of reasons to disagree with what the military does, although there are reasons for the military and there are people who are career military people. And what I read out of this was if somebody who is disabled, won't make sense to send them back into active duty. However, there are a lot of military jobs that need to be done that somebody who's disabled may be able to do. And so having some kind of an equal opportunity that a disabled person may still be able to be employed by the military if there are ways that they can still contribute. I felt this was opening the door to look for ways to keep disabled military people employed. I wouldn't want to see them sent back out to something that was going to cause them a problem, but to give them a possibility for a career in the military if there's a good match for what they can do at this point in time. It seemed like this was going down a path that I thought would be positive for people that otherwise might have a door closed to them.
I would just say, Jay, too, maybe you misspoke, but when you said get these people to re-enlist, and really it's not trying to get people to re-enlist, it's allowing those who choose, who want to, would have that option. And these are people who served our country and were wounded one way or another, and it's pretty disgraceful how they're just cast aside, that they're no good anymore and don't have relevant things to give to our country. It's simply not true. And I think this will allow them to continue to serve as they see fit. And it's a freedom thing. I mean, you have your opinion, they have their opinion.
Yeah.
And they're entitled to their thoughts and desires, and we should abide by that.
And this is initiated by a disabled serviceman who wants to go back. This is who initiated it. Somebody who is disabled and wants to go back.
I understand that, and I understand your reasoning and respect it, so I disagree, though it is a matter of re-enlistment, because when disabled veterans have been discharged, and in order for them to serve, if the ADA limitations were extended to the military, they would have to be re-enlisting. That's why I use the term.
But I guess get implies we're trying to get them to do it, where really it is letting them
letting,
do
giving
it.
them the option.
These are folks who want to do it. Semantics.
It's more than semantics in today's military. Money, payroll has an enormous effect on those who serve. Enormous. I won't go further with that.
Just to kind of reiterate, I think it's almost discriminatory to not allow someone who has a handicap condition or an injury to not be able to go back into the military if they want to. And as far as suicides, I mean, some of those suicides are because people feel they're no longer useful and they don't know really where to go with their lives. And this may actually prevent some of the people who have injuries to feel useful and that there's a place for them in society. So, I think that we are allowing them to choose what they want to do.
And actually, I think if this is successful, then we would see where they're not being automatically kicked out of the Army, but they're given an option. You want to stick in? We'll find something for you to do. So they won't be discharged.
Yeah, well, whatever, I understand everybody's reasoning, and I have my own.
This is a good discussion and a good debate.
Yes.
And now we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Thank you. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's it, we're just left like this with an accusation that Jay made in limbo. Jay, last week he said if you did